The Rock is back in the forefront of some theories due to some recent events. We're also going to check out what is going on with the Smackdown GM role, with Seth Rollins, and with more. Starting things off with everything new that's related to The Rock and what's being said there in the community. Now, The Rock's star power is undeniable. Whenever and wherever he pops up, it's always going to create buzz no matter what he does. I mean, just look at Bad Blood 2024. He quite literally did nothing that night, and that still resulted in a lot of buzz. So, no doubt he's always going to bring eyes and attention. But a large chunk of the wrestling community has slowly turned on The Rock as of late because of, well, their fatigue with the inconsistent storytelling that's revolving around him. He'll return, he'll make it seem like there's this crazy and amazing storyline that's all being set up and ready to go that he's about to take us through, but then he just disappears for several years, and the previous storyline that everybody was hyped about just fizzles out because of his disappearance and long breaks from WWE TV. That was the case with the entire Roman Reigns versus The Rock storyline. That was a big dream match ever since the start of the tribal chief character for Roman Reigns. Everyone thought it was going to be the perfect payoff for Roman being a tyrant with the family. But then they waited for so long, and then when they were finally set to do it in 2024, fans wanted to see Cody versus Roman, so that match was scrapped. Now, you can blame the fans for that match and story being canceled, or you can blame the fact that they just waited too long to cash out on that matchup. If they would have done Roman versus Rock in, say, 2022 or 2023, maybe it happened smoothly without Cody being in the middle of it. So that story with Roman got destroyed. And then after that, The Rock's main new feud and storyline appeared to be against Cody Rhodes. And everybody knows the story of how that went. The Rock tells Cody that their story together was just beginning. He then leaves for a majority of the year, returns at Bad Blood to do nothing, and then appears for a few weeks in early 2025 for the mini-Soul storyline with Cody, and then vanishes again. Also, you can't forget the abandoned John Cena and Travis Scott storyline with The Rock as well. So that's the main issue that the fans are having right now, and why some fans actually prefer for The Rock to just stay away from the product. They don't want to see him make yet another big return, tease this massive storyline that everybody's excited for and theorizing about, and then just leave us on the hook and abandon it again. Fans are just so fed up with that usual routine and cycle from The Rock's recent few runs, and they just don't want to see it happen again. So if he is going to come out for another one-night-only storyline and then abandon it, fans think it's just better off for him not to appear at all. But the reason why The Rock's name is even in the conversation right now is because of the fact that WWE appears to now be hinting and teasing at the idea of The Rock showing up at SummerSlam. During the recent SummerSlam kickoff event, Seth Rollins was taking some digs at Roman Reigns and was talking about how he himself was the real People's Champion. Seth even asked the crowd if they smelled what he was cooking. And Seth wasn't exactly subtle there at all. I mean, those were all very in-your-face, obvious references to The Rock's catchphrases and nicknames. And Seth used them in very insulting ways. We know that Seth and The Rock have some really bad blood with each other based off the WrestleMania 40 program and the tag team match that happened there. So there is some history there between The Rock and Seth Rollins. And, like The Rock said back in 2024, if you say something about Roman's family, that means that you're saying something about his family as well. And The Rock, well, he comes to the defense of his family. So with Seth and the WWE now sprinkling in all of these Rock-related references and hints, it has fans wondering if they're teasing the idea of The Rock showing up at SummerSlam with a role to play in the Roman versus Seth match. Living in Fantasyland for a second, it would be pretty cool and a massive surprise if The Rock did have a surprise role to play at SummerSlam and then it led to something solid down the road. But coming back down to reality land, it seems very unlikely, and most fans are giving it absolutely no shot that The Rock appears at SummerSlam. What this appears to be is just them trying to create some hype for SummerSlam off of a false narrative about The Rock returning. They know that The Rock isn't returning at SummerSlam, but they're still trying to sell you on that hope in order to create more hype and buzz around SummerSlam. That appears to be what's actually happening here. They know that there's no shot of him returning at SummerSlam, but if they can sell you on the idea of all these teasers just to build up more hype on the fans that can buy into the hints and the references and then buy into SummerSlam, well, that's on them. So they may continue to heavily hint at The Rock's return, but I think it just seems really unlikely, and it doesn't seem like it has a realistic shot of happening. If The Rock is ever going to return, it's probably going to be during WrestleMania season. A return at SummerSlam? It just seems so unlikely. But the community's still going to have to keep an eye on it because of all those little teasers. A big issue in current-day WWE across many different programs and feuds is, well, it's the fact that heels and babyfaces aren't really that clear. The big, perfect example of this is the six-man tag team between Jimmy, Jay, and Jacob versus Solo, LA Knight, and Royce Keys. That is one really extremely confusing program where you can't really point out who the villains are there. And another program that seems to be suffering a bit from this is Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Now, Seth has been arguing in recent weeks that although he did make some personal mistakes in the past, he still feels like Roman is the real villain here. Seth always talks about how he shows up to work every week full time, how he doesn't take any shortcuts, how he does things the right way. But then the recent Saturday Night's Main Event segment took place, which did kind of make Seth look like a big hypocrite based off what he's been saying in recent weeks. Seth versus Roman so far has been built up like a tweener versus tweener, anti-hero versus anti-hero. But Seth's actions at Saturday Night's Main Event was ripped straight out of a Cowardly Heels playbook. Seth attacked Roman from behind, he linked up with one of the most despised New York villains in MSG, and then cowardly retreated when things didn't go his way. So fans are a little bit mixed up on that Roman and Seth MSG segment because Seth acted completely out of character based on what he's been saying and doing in recent weeks. Caught a lot of fans off guard to basically see Seth portraying a full heel in this segment when there was no previous heel turn or explanation for his actions there in that segment. So that moment has fans wondering if maybe Seth is the heel now in this program with Roman, or if, I don't know, maybe that entire segment should just be waved off as not being canon to the main storyline. Definitely a little bit confusing there. So, I don't know, maybe you can just check that Saturday Night's Main Event segment as Seth hating Roman so much that he's going to do anything to ruin his plans and his night. It's now official. Nick Aldis is facing Gunther at SummerSlam and is going to be stepping into the WWE ring for the first time as a competitor. His involvement in the ring, and especially after costing Gunther a match and hitting him with the title, that means that Nick Aldis is still out as SmackDown General Manager for the time being. But, considering that he's getting back into the ring, and considering just how bad things have gotten between Gunther and himself, that has fans wondering if Nick Aldis could even continue to be General Manager after SummerSlam. How is Nick Aldis supposed to be fair and non-biased as GM towards Gunther after SummerSlam? So that has fans speculating on if Nick Aldis could be permanently out as SmackDown General Manager after SummerSlam. Maybe Adam Pearce continues to run both shows. Maybe Nick does get his job back. Or maybe a brand new SmackDown General Manager gets crowned there. We're going to have to see about it. But anyway, what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.